And welcome to the Open Mic Broadcast Network. It is time for us to discuss some SWAC football, which means we have on the line with us on today Coach Heish Northern. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Everything going pretty good. Enjoying this beautiful weather we having in Northwest Houston, and just trying to get a couple things straight before Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I guess fortunately and fortunately, my son's team, they were up 24-0 in the first round of the playoffs and ended up losing by one in overtime. So that means we have some free time for the holidays. You love for them to be playing, but unfortunately that won't happen for the Bears. But I did get a chance to go home once again. I had a chance to check out the Prairie View Southern game in person, and it was a good game. But it was good for me to get home, see some of my former teammates that had made it, and once again help my dad do some things that he needed to get done.
Absolutely. And result to your son giving up the 24-point lead, all you can say is ouch on that one, huh, Coach?
It was a tough one, and you can sort of see it happening. They gave up a touchdown right before the half, and then the very first play coming out of halftime, they fumbled the ball, and a couple plays later, they were playing against Klein Kane, and they scored two plays, so it went from 24 to 14 to 24 to 21 in a matter of 30 seconds of playing time. So it's like I say, it was a great game to be at, but unfortunately for the Bears, they lost.
Oh man, well, we wish them well on the recovery. And speaking of recovery, Coach, this game between the Panthers and the Jags, good game.
Yes, it was.
Someone has to come short.
Yeah.
And it's rough on the bluff right about now, huh?
Hey, it's an old saying. It's rough on the bluff. We used to laugh because when I was playing, we had a police officer that used to travel with one of the coaches, and we had lost a couple games in a row, and he actually sent the police officer to start his car because he thought somebody had planted a bomb under it. So it's
wow.
Like I say, it's crazy, but that's the way it is in Baton Rouge. They passionate about their football and basketball and whatever sport it is that Southern offers. They are pretty passionate about it, and when they lose, it doesn't sit well. I can tell you this. From me riding around Baton Rouge Saturday and after the game, a lot of people lost money because the crowd wasn't that big. And on my way home, I had to pass down one of the main streets in Baton Rouge, and it wasn't crowded at all going to my dad's house. So that's why I say a lot of people, the liquor stores, the hamburger places, the chicken wing places, all those people didn't make the money that they had been making for some of Southern's home games.
Wow. Well, winning has an impact on all aspects of your community and the fan base. So it's a tough time right now. But, Coach, you had the opportunity to be a super agent for us this past weekend on our broadcast coverage. So I want you to give us a recap firsthand on what you saw in that game unfolding and what things are looking like for both of these programs.
Well, the thing, just from being in the booth, most of the time when I go to games, I always tell people I very rarely sit in the stands when I go to games. Number one, the view and the conversations I don't like, and I hate to sit in the stands and hear people berating the players first and then the coaches. So it was good for me to be in the booth and have a chance to see it because it's a totally different look than what I normally get at the games. And, I was fortunate enough to have your son up there, and I could tell him, okay, I'm looking at this. This is what I see. This is what's about to happen. And when it did happen, he almost looked at me like, man, how you figured that was going to happen? But like I tell him, man, the game is not that hard, especially when you can run the football. It makes everything else a lot easier. And then you can see the way that the defenses were lining up. All right, this is about to be a middle blitz by the way the defensive tackles lined up, or this is about to be a boundary blitz. I can look and see where the safeties are lined up. So it was good for me to sit up there and sort of talk the game and try to break it down to as simple as, the lowest common denominator, where, like they say, put it to where the goats can get it if they listening to the game.
There you go. Well, it sounds like you got pretty comfortable. Coach, is there a future for you in that, man?
Hey, I had talked to some people about doing some radio, some TV for, maybe the different universities. I've talked to people at Prairie View, talked to people at ESPN and HBCU Go Sports. So I would like for that to be in my future. And I had a chance to see my head coach, Coach Richardson, who does radio for Southern University. And he and I had a chance to talk briefly about, watching the game. He was talking about how easy it was because, it's like I say, man, I feel like we in our backyard talking about football. He said, yeah, the only thing about it, certain things you can't say what you really want to say, and you have to remember that, a lot of times those are your friends that you may be talking about, or, you've been in that situation and people want to know, what do you think? And I think your son did a good job of leading me into certain, how you can lead somebody into an answer that people want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes it's not what they want to hear, but in a rather general understanding and knowledge-based response that tells the truth without being offensive, even though sometimes people are going to be offended even if you don't try to offend. But you know how that goes. With the thing that you saw, we know that Prairie View won, but what did you see that Prairie View was able to take advantage, or where Southern was able to take advantage during this broadcast?
Well, the biggest thing I saw that Prairie View was able to take advantage of, number one, kindly pull the ball on some of the zone reads. And I think Coach Fredericks and you and I had talked about sometimes they crashing down on the running back so hard. You have to pull the ball. Even if you don't gain that many yards as a quarterback, you have to make them respect the fact that you will pull it and get a few yards. Like you say, some quarterbacks, when they pull it, they can kill you. Some quarterbacks, when they pull it, they can hurt you. And all he has to do is hurt the other team a couple times, or maybe some third and shorts. He pulled it. Some first downs, and I was telling them that on first down, Southern is a heavy run blitz team. So when you get into that run blitz situation and you pull it, it's nobody outside to take the quarterback. And quite a few times Conley pulled it, and Prairie View ended up being 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2 a couple times. One time when they were backed up almost maybe the 4 or 5 yard line, he pulled it and ended up getting the first down. So it was some real big pulls by Conley, who I think had about 50 or 60 yards rushing at halftime. So he made some good plays, and because he was able to run the ball, the play action game ended up opening up, and that's how Prairie View, I think they ran it 6 or 7 times in a row. And I remember saying, hey, I would keep my eyes open for play action and keep my eye on number 1 and number 80. And sure enough, here's a touchdown. And, just the way I said it. But I could see that safety from Southern getting closer and closer to the line of scrimmage and left no one in the middle of the field. So it's like I say, it turns into pitch and catch football. But he did a good job. And even if you look at Southern's quarterback play, I think they finished 15 or 19 between the two of the guys. They didn't play well. They couldn't push the ball downfield because Prairie View, they wasn't playing a prevent defense, but they played a let's keep the ball in front of us type of defense. I think Southern only had one big pass play where DB fell down, and then they had the big Hail Mary try at the end of the game. Other than that, Prairie View pretty much kept the ball in front of them and kept their big play receivers from getting over the top.
Well, from what I've been able to notice, and I'll ask you because you are the expert in this conversation, from your vantage point, especially being at the booth and what you've seen and what you know and understand about play calling, did it seem like Southern is very predictable and that there's not a lot of, disguising in their scheme, or there's just Prairie View was very well prepared?
Well, I would say Southern's defense, from what I can see, is predictable. And I can look at 9 defenses out of 10 and tell you exactly what they're going to do, especially if it's a 4-man front. You can look and see, are they bringing pressure out of the boundary? Are they bringing middle pressure? Or are they bringing edge pressure? And the thing that I was able to see, anytime Southern lined up with both of their defensive tackles in what most people call in the B gap, I'll say in the B gap, then they were bringing middle pressure. So if you see that, you know that the middle is going to be open on some of your passing plays, or you're going to have a man-to-man matchup and somebody's going to be chasing. And I thought Conley did a pretty good job of taking advantage of whether he threw it to the back out of the backfield or somebody coming on the under route. He did a pretty good job when they did bring pressure of not taking sacks and getting the ball to the right people in a hurry and then letting them make plays. Now, Southern's offense, I knew they were going to try to throw the ball some. They did throw it, but it was a lot of short passes except for a couple of deep shots that they took. But Prairie View did, like I said, did a good job of keeping the ball in front of them. And I don't think at this time of year, everybody knows what everybody's going to do minus a trick play maybe here or there. I did notice what they ran like a speed option shuffle pass, and it got shut down near the goal line. I think that was right before the half. Southern was going in when Prairie View got a stop. But all in all, everybody knows what everybody's going to do, so it boils down to execution. And then I think the big adjustment that Prairie View did in the second half, they started running more defensive line stunts. And if they wasn't getting pressure or they wasn't getting sacks, they were getting pressure or getting a hand in the face of the quarterback or making him have to throw the ball before he wanted to. And because they wasn't able to get the ball downfield.
Okay, well, we know that Prairie View is keeping hope alive. And this weekend, all they have to do is take care of the team in front of them, which is not going to be an easy task, but Alabama State coming in, clicking on all cylinders, and they'll be ready to try to make some noise this weekend on the campus of Prairie View. How do you see this matchup coming from what you've seen and understood about both of these programs?
Well, I think it's going to almost be a replay of the last couple of games where Alabama State probably has one of the better, they have one of the better defenses in the conference. So it's going to be one of those tighten your chin strap, make sure you have some shoulder shocks on up under your shoulder pads because it's going to be a physical ball game. On the offense side of the ball, Alabama State, I think they average only about 17 or 20 points a game. But the biggest thing is they're not turning the ball over a whole lot. And they'll make a play or two on special teams. So they remind me a lot of our 2007 maybe teams at Prairie View where they win in a lot of games with, the 24 to 21s, the 17-14 type of games. And it's almost, hey, man, just don't throw a pick six and we'll find a way to win the ball game. So you have to take your hats off to those guys for keeping the games close and winning it. So, like I said, I think it's going to be a good, close, low-scoring ball game. And because Alabama State doesn't have the best passing attack, but they'll run it. They're going to give you a whole lot of different formations and motions, the eye candy, and then they're going to run the same plays. If you run with motion, they're going to run back to where the motion came from because that's going to, in their eyes, you're going to be one man short. If you don't run with motion, they probably going to throw it to the motion guy. So it's easy, but it can cause problems if you don't match up alignment-wise with those guys.
Well, when you come to a matchup like this, and I know people say all the time, well, time of possession doesn't really matter. I need to score. But time of possession can be a strong ally for you, especially in a critical game such as this, could it not?
Yeah, and I used to tell my defense, hey, man, if time of possession matters, or I would say it's overrated at times, but I would also tell them there's nothing wrong with the defense scoring. And I would put a challenge to them like, hey, let's see if we can score more points than the offense this week, or as many as. Or can we come up big in certain change situations where if our offense does turn the ball over, can we get a 3 and out? So you're going to have chances to make plays. It may not be interceptions, but, you'll have a running back trying to get extra yards. So that means now you have a chance for a strip on the tackle or whatever. So but it is a great weapon because your defense gets a chance to rest and now they can go back out there fully energized when they do take the field. But at the same time, I would tell my guys that you don't win games by time. You win by scoring and not letting people score. So it's up to you guys. If you want to get a break on defense, then go get a turnover, get a stop, and then we'll rest.
Well, the Panthers will have to put it all on the table this weekend as they'll host the Alabama State Hornets. Kickoff time will be at 2 o'clock. And, of course, you can listen live on the Open Mic Broadcast Network at obnradio.com. We have Coach Heist Northern with us, kind of recapping things that took place in Baton Rouge on Saturday. But the talk of the town, Coach, has to be Sunday and the performance that Texas Southern laid out on Alcorn. Now, it was good to have the win, but the sound and thorough, convincing win that the Tigers put up on Sunday, no one saw that coming. 44-10. I know you probably didn't get a chance to watch a lot of it, but from what you maybe look at some film or look at the box score, were you as shocked as the rest in the SWAC community?
Yeah, I went to an opportunity to see my teammate, the son that's diagnosed with cancer. They had a birthday get-together / fundraiser for him, so I went to that. So I didn't get a chance to see much of the game, but nobody in a right mind would have thought the score would have been what it ended up being. I know when I first saw it, I was like, hey, man, is this the correct score? I thought they might have had it flipped around or something like that. Like, did ESPN put the wrong score for the wrong team? But at the same time, it goes to show you the mentality that you have to have, and you have to be made differently to focus on every team. The thing with Texas Southern, when they get going, they can get going. And fortunately, this week, they didn't Texas Southern things, as people say. They kept the foot on the gas. Even though they didn't score that many points, they didn't give Alcorn opportunities by turning it over, pick sixes, fumble, scoop, and score to where Alcorn could think they could come back in the game. So it was good. Like I say, I have to be happy for Coach McKinney and his staff and players and the Texas Southern fans. It probably, they probably could have walked around and did personal introductions, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't that many people at the game. But it was good for those guys. Like I say, I'm a coach's coach, and I pull for Coach McKinney and his staff, and that was good for them guys. And you know what? Like I said, it also goes back to what I said. Man, I know it had a lot of Prairie View fans that were pulling for dear old Texas Southern, the Third Ward Tigers, as they say.
Yes, sir. I got to confess, Coach, I immediately put down my maroon and gray pawpaws when I got the final. But, it was a good thing to see, as you say, for Coach McKinney, because even though they didn't have as many wins as you would like to see in the win column, I can't say enough from my vantage point and understanding some of the ins and outs that you guys have to deal with as coaches. He has done a super job with that program, and I'm hoping that he did enough to at least warn him a little more time to try to get that thing through the finish line.
Yeah, like I say, you can't say enough. The fact that those guys came out there fighting and playing for him and each other, I would tell a guy, hey, man, don't worry about me as a coach. Play for the guys that you get up at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning and work out with, or the guys that you run gases with. Play for those guys. Me and my family, we're going to be all right when it's all said and done. But, this is something you only get a chance to do once in a college career. So some of those guys, they accomplished something that nobody thought that they could do. And when they, 20 years later, when they come back to Texas Southern for homecoming, remember that time we beat Alcorn and nobody thought, and the score probably going to be 77-2 the older that they get. But, it's something that they'll never forget that game.
Right. And so when you look at it as what memories are made of, and speaking of memories, sometimes they can haunt you. Alcorn has got a tall order this week coming up against Jackson State. as a coach, how and what do you say to your guys after a must-win game and a devastating defeat like that, and then you got to deal with them juggernauts from Jackson State? Man, that's a tough turnaround with everything that's at stake, and you're playing on a short week.
Well, the thing about it is, a rivalry can get your attention like no other thing in football can. The fact that they playing against Jackson State probably gonna mean more than if they were playing against not Mississippi Valley, maybe Alabama A&M or somebody like that. So coach not gonna have to say a lot to get their attention. They know they let one get away that they probably thought they should have. I bet if they go back and look at the practice film, or maybe how many guys missed workouts, how many guys watched film when they didn't have to, I bet those numbers gonna show that we didn't prepare properly. Not so much the other way around, but it's Coach McNair not gonna have to say a lot to get them ready for Jackson State this week. I can guarantee that.
Okay, and it should be a very physical game and be very interesting to see. Meanwhile, Texas Southern will be closing out against University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And the way they're flying and going right now, I'm saying, look out, Golden Lions, because here they come.
Yeah, what Texas Southern does on offense, to be honest with you, they do some things that you have to play by the rules against them because they do a lot of pulling. What we call pinning and pull. They run counter, and they may pull two linemen one way and have the running back going the opposite way with the quarterback reading the backside defensive end, and it can confuse a lot of people where you normally tell people, okay, follow the puller, but if you follow the puller, then the running back is what we call out the back door, going the opposite direction of the puller. So you have to be wary, and then they run the speed sweep. They run the power read series. They run everything that gives a lot of people problems, but the key to it is, can you get penetration and make them have to run sideways with the football? So that's and then they do some things in the passing game with the screen game, the wheel routes, all that type of stuff. You have to cover the whole field with them, and if the quarterback has time, he's gonna make some plays for them. So it can be some problems.
Yes, sir. Well, that's that old misdirection with the way they move those lines. That's back in my time, that old misdirection, confusion with the wishbone here, there, and everywhere. So it's like I said, it's good to see them clicking on all cylinders. Then you have this rival game coming up, Bethune-Cookman and FAMU. Now, we know that rivals, they're thrown out the window when it comes to the records, but there's nothing hotter than FAMU right now. And this should be another interesting game, and they're going for the perfect, conference record and try to set themselves up to host the SWAC championship game. How do you see that one coming out?
Well, like you say, if you're a bet man, you got to bet on the Rattlers, but I think it may be a lot closer than most people think because of the rivalry. Like those guys, they grow up playing with each other, and it's a lot of guys that played high school ball together gonna be on the opposite sideline. So I think it's gonna be a good one starting off, and I think Bethune's defense is playing a lot better than most people think. They just hadn't got it clicking on offense, but it's gonna be a good one at least for a while, and then I think eventually FAMU, because of the depth that they have, and they had a chance to rest some guys last week, they may have some guys that have a little bit more pep in their step come into the game this weekend.
Absolutely, and we know that Southern and Grambling have a bye this week, but they're getting ready for what's going to be the bragging rights of Louisiana at this Bayou Classic. We know it's a disappointing season for the Tigers and the Jags, but once again, when it comes to this rival, all records are out the window, and it's a matter of bragging rights for the remaining of the year and leading to the next season. What is it like preparing for this as a player and a coach? You've been on that side as a coach. You've been on that side as a player. So what's the atmosphere and the adrenaline flowing through the veins at this time?
Well, I think what most of the time what both schools would do, having been participant on both sides, what both of them are probably gonna do, they've probably taken Sunday off, and they'll may just come in Monday and watch film and do some light stretching and jogging, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week they're gonna put in a bulk of their game plan, but it might not be a very physical practice. But let's make sure the offensive side of the ball know exactly what blitzes the opposite team likes to do, and the defense side of the ball, okay, here they top formations. This is what they like to do out of these formations, and let's make sure that we are well prepared for their base running and passing plays this week. And then you may look at some things. Let's maybe try a different blitz, and if our guys can get the blitz and the adjustments, let's add this to the game plan. If we don't look good with it by Thursday of this week, let's take it out and just go with what we've been doing and having success with. And then next week, it'll be empty canvases on both sides, and it's pretty much film, weightlifting, and practice for 3 or 4 days in a row. And then you have to, mix in the Thanksgiving dinner. There's also a big banquet that both teams attend. I think it would be on Friday now at the Superdome or somewhere close to the Superdome that both teams attend. And then it's game day, so it's a great environment. Good to be a part of it on both sides. It's the loudest place I've been in my life on a collegiate level. I've been to some pro games that were a little bit louder, but I've never been a place where I couldn't hear through the headsets at a game.
Okay. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. And then we're going to have this SWAC championship on December the 2nd, which is going to lead me to my question that I've been pondering and I've discussed a couple of times throughout the show this week. With I'm going to say the word dominance that the MEAC has had in the Celebration Bowl, and it got me to pondering and thinking, do you think that there is an advantage that the MEAC does not have a championship game, because it gives them an entire month to rest, devise new offensive plays to add to their attack, and it gives them extra time to scout what the opposing or would-be opposing opponents be as they're battling out through the championship game this last week. And by the time they get to the championship game from the SWAC side, even though they've been playing and they got a little bit of rest, do you still see them being at a disadvantage coming into that game?
Nah, I don't think it really puts the team at a disadvantage. If you ask most coaches, they would like to play, keep playing, so you sort of keep that rhythm going, the routine going. So I don't think it gives them a big advantage, if at all. Like I say, if you go back and look at it, they have had the better teams in most instances, and particularly they've had the better defenses than the teams in the SWAC. So it's just one of those, sometimes you just have to go out there and play, don't beat yourself type of football, and then when you do get a chance to make big plays, you have to do it. But if you look at the defensive lines from the MEAC versus the SWAC, the past few challenges, their defensive linemen have been bigger and more athletic than the SWAC defensive line. And you could chalk it up to a recruiting issue or whatever, but it is what it is when those teams have played in the bowl game at the conclusion of the season. Mike, can I go back?
Yeah, go ahead. Go back.
So going back to the Southern game, and you're talking about the preparation. The one thing that may happen, all right, Southern played 2 quarterbacks the last game. So Blood played in Biden, who's a transfer from Graham. He was Bruce Eugene's high school. Bruce was his high school coach, and now he's at Southern. So now they have a little bit more time to get Biden ready to play. Unfortunately for Blood, man, that kid got booed at the game on senior day. I really wouldn't care what day of the week it is. whether it's freshman day, senior day, veterans day, or whatever. But for that kid to get booed, I thought that was very inappropriate. You know, however you want to cut it up, there's no way, in my opinion, that the home team fans ought to be booing one of their players. You know, you can boo the coach. If I'm a boo somebody, I'm gonna boo directly. I would say boo Coach Dooley. I'm not gonna just say boo because their quarterback was in. Now, mind you, the kid played a good game, made some good throws for him, but at the end of the day, they didn't win. That hurt me, Mike. You know, to put it lightly, for the fact that a kid and a young man who's about to graduate from that institution got booed on senior day. So but you know, moving forward, I wouldn't be surprised if Biden started the Bayou Classic because they have 2 weeks to get him ready. But the thing is, you know, Gramblin's defense hadn't been playing as good as it had been playing, but I know Coach Thornton is going to give him some looks that he hadn't seen when they go to enter that game. So they better hope that he is ready to play and doesn't look like a freshman when he goes into that ball game. That's all I can say.
Well, it appeared at times during the rotation of the quarterbacks, they responded quite well to him.
They did.
Offensive line, right. And so it's the tale of two. Like they say, old saying, if you got two quarterbacks, you really have one. But with that extra time of prepping, could it be something that new wrinkle or the shot in the arm that the Jags would need?
Yes, and I said it during the game broadcast. They ran the ball better when he came in. Sometimes it's just that shot of energy that the offensive line, like, hey, man, we got our guy in. Now, should they blocking it differently? No. But that shot of energy that they got, they immediately ran the ball with some success and scored their first touchdown, I want to say. So, but also, at times, he took too long to get the ball out. He has to see people open if it's not a quick read. So he's going to hold on to the ball. Therefore, Prairie View's defensive line was able to hit home on some of their defensive line stunts where an older guy might have said, okay, this is what they're doing. I know who I'm going to go to right now with the football.
Okay.
But, yeah, he's be prepared for the game, I'm sure.
Right. And real quick before I lose my thought, the question I was going to ask when you were talking about the defensive and offensive line play from the MEAC versus the SWAC, dare I say that the MEAC is a bit more physical?
You can say that, but I think because of the styles that they play, it's not a lot of hurry up and go teams in that conference. So it's a lot of, we don't have a problem controlling the line of scrimmage with the run game as opposed to maybe trying to out scheme or, you know, like they say, finesse, but you still want to be able to run the ball no matter what conference. But when you have bigger defensive linemen going against some offensive linemen that may not be as athletic or strong, then that's going to cause problems. You know, that the defensive line that some of those schools have had, in particular, North Carolina Central, they had I think they had at one time 3 of their 4 defensive linemen were transfers. So when you get those type of guys playing for you up front, that makes a big difference in a ball. It makes your secondary better. You know, as good as Jackson State was, they didn't have the cohesion that those guys that had been playing together for a few years at North Carolina Central when they played in the Celebration Bowl. And then I think, you know, they had a chip on their shoulder going, you know, they played it like they were playing against Coach Prime, not just Jackson State.
Right. Well, you know what, I guess a good comparison for me, to me, and this is just me, I'm just one man, Big Ten football is like watching paint dry. It's a physical game, but oh my goodness, it's so lethargic as far as I'm concerned. And before you know it, the guys that pound you to death. It's going to be ball control playing, and that is kind of in the mindset that it puts me when I think of MEAC play. Now, when you come to SWAC play, and I'm just using this just as a mirror of comparison. Offensively, I would compare SWAC to Big 12 play because of the aerodynamics and the excitement. And I'm going to have to almost go like a hybrid when it comes to defense. I'm not quite sure what Power 5 label I would put on. Maybe you could help me with that.
As far as the MEAC?
As far as the SWAC, when it comes to who you compare their defensive style play with and their line play with.
I would say defensively, probably more like the West Coast is Pac-12, Big 12, where it's, you're not getting the biggest of kids, and you're trying to, maybe move some guys around, use more speed as opposed to just power and hammer. And also on the offensive side of the ball, you see more Ole Miss type offense, Auburn type offense, where you may have some misdirection. You still want to be able to run the ball, but you're not just lining up in the eye, we're going to run ISO and lead. It's more power read, zone schemes and stuff. And a lot of people think that zone scheme is finesse, but if you run the right zone scheme, you can get double teams, get 2 or 3 double teams at the line of scrimmage before you move up to the next level. So it's a combination of both. Like we always say, it's like American soccer versus South American soccer. It's still soccer, but it's played totally different. Or you playing American baseball versus the Latin American, where it's a little bit more flair, a little bit more, bat flipping and all that type of stuff. And in America, they just want you to, line up and play and don't celebrate and all that type of stuff. So it's a little bit different.
Right. Well, when you look at it, it's about getting more points than the next guy, right? And however style it is, just let's make sure that we're on top and not on the bottom at the end result. Now, Coach, there was one other deal that I wanted to, try to compare apples to apples with, and that's when it comes to the quarterback play. The quarterback play is going to be neutral, I think, on any level. Am I misguided in that?
Well, like I said, it depends on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to get the ball out of the guy's hand into your playmaker's hand? Or are you trying to make him be a scientist and, count and read and all that type of stuff? So it just depends on your style of play. Is he under center or is he in the shotgun? Is he a runner or is he a pocket passer? So it's a couple things that go into it. What happens a lot of times when people start putting their best athlete at quarterback, they lost some of the throwing mechanics and some of the quote unquote teaching aspects of how to read a defense, and it just became one read. If that read is not there, take off with the football because you're the best athlete on the field. Where now guys don't know how to read what we call levels: outside in, inside out, high to low. They don't know how to read that anymore because everything is predicated off of play action, and if one guy moves with the play action, then we're going to throw it where he came from, that type of thing.
Well, you said something that made me say, when are they playing under center? Now, if I have a gripe about the spread, and it's okay, and I like it, but don't go into no spread when you inside the red zone, and it's 4th and 1, and you lined up 7 yards back deep, man. Line up and let's get something going. To me, that just has taken away from you. Now, I call that finesse. Now, you might not call that finesse, but I call that finesse. No one gets under center anymore, Coach.
Yeah, I was watching LSU game for a minute the other day, and they were 1st and goal from maybe the 2. And they lined up in the shotgun and ran the same play and did not get in. I was like, man. And they had numbers to the unbalanced side and didn't run. Or you got Jaden Daniels. Why not just have him run the ball to the where you have him outnumbered? So it ain't just SWAC coaches that get the doo-doo brains, as the people say.
Well, with that note and segue, it's time for us to hear one of the Northern stories. What you got for us this week, man?
Man, with all this stuff going on with these coaches getting fired, I'm gonna tell you some getting fired stories. So I'm gonna say I was at one school and got fired by the head coach, but the athletic director liked me. So he said, he calls me into his office. He said, "Coach, I understand you got the coach want to let you go," and he says, "But Coach, I don't know." No, he called somebody else in the office, and he says, "Coach, you go stand outside while I talk to this lady." And he says to her, "I wonder if Coach know that he can't get fired if he's on a mental health break or if he's suffering from undue stress." So, man, he said if I was Coach, I would go to a doctor and give me a note, say I need like 4 or 6 week break. So he sends the lady out of the office. She sends me back in, and he turns around. He say, "Coach, what you doing in here? I thought you was going to the doctor by now." So, but it goes to show you, like, when people like you, and, he found out a way. Now, mind you, the other thing that was crazy about it, I got fired on my wedding anniversary one time. So that was all during the same time. So, like I said, I got to go home and tell my wife this after I done went to work on my wedding anniversary. So, but everything worked out. He made it to where I could get extended pay because I was working in an at-will state at the time. So that was one time. Another time, I get fired, and I walk into the office, and there's a police officer in the office, but the guy that's firing me doesn't know that I know that this guy's a police. So when I walk in, he just has the guy sitting in there like he's just another employee of the university. But I see the guy. I had been on some committees, and I walk in, and I look, and I say, "Man, this how we doing it?" Like, almost like, "Man, you got to have the police in here. What you think I'm gonna do you something?" So it was funny to me because the thing about it, and I sort of could feel it coming because I was having some issues with my email and trying to get some stuff straight for the players. And I saw the guy in the parking lot, and when he saw me, it's like he reached down to get something while he's driving his car on the university property. So I just thought that was funny. But, in my mind, I'm like, man, I can't believe this dude got the police in here. Like, like I said, man, I'm going to be as professional as I am at all times. Then another time, this is the last one. I'm at the school, and, I'm thinking I'm going to get retained, and I get this letter that's telling me, okay, you've been let go. Here's your last day of pay. So I have to go to the HR department on the other side of campus. So I go over there, Mike, and it's a guy that I know. So obviously he must have known that I was getting fired. And I had some words with him about something he did. He violated some man laws, but that's a whole nother story. But Mike, when I walk down the hall, this guy goes into a room. So I go in, see the lady. She's taking a while. I say, "Man, where's the closest restroom?" I had never been on that side. "Where's the closest restroom?" She said, "Go outside, go to the right, and go 2 doors down." So when I go down, I look at the room that the guy walked into. Mike, why the dude walked into a janitor's closet so he wouldn't have to talk to me? I'm like, man, this got to be the worst. But it was funny to me because the guy walked into, and like he just opened the door instead of walking into the bathroom, walked into the janitor's closet. I just thought it was funny. I'm like, man, boy, the things people do. But like you say, it's a trying time. I joke with my wife about maybe she need to go try to see if Jimbo looking for another partner or something. Like, hey man, Jimbo getting $77 million to not coach. And the crazy thing about it, Mike, I think they got to give him $19 million within 30 to 60 days. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey man,
I can't feel sorry for him.
Hey man, that's a blessing among blessings. Boy, I tell you what, if I'd have been ever so lucky to have that happen to me, like I say, I'm gonna be so thankful, boy. It's gonna be some blessing being poured down on some people. I get $19 million not to work.
I know that's right.
If he go get another job, he still get all the money from Texas. And
they
most of what they usually take some of that money. Oh man, they usually take it from your other place, so he can go get a job now. Depending on where he goes, and assemble one of the better coaching staffs, because he can pay some of those guys that have been making X amount of dollars. He can say, well, instead of y'all giving me $3 or $4 million, which I know he's not gonna do, he's still gonna take that salary, but he can say, y'all take this salary pool and let me bring in some of the better assistants that I can at this school, or let me bring in a few more analysts, a few more grad assistants, a few more people in the weight room. Now we can make this program like another a Power 5 program, depending on where he goes. He may just say he's going to take a year off and then get back into it. I understand he likes to hunt and fish a good bit, got a big old ranch in Texas somewhere, so he may just say, I'll do that for a little while. But if I know him, depending on what job come open, he's going to get right back in the saddle.
Maybe he can put some of that money and get him an advanced scouting team together too. So who knows how all that stuff will work out. But it's strange, man, that they have that kind of money to throw around. And I think since they want to call us their quote unquote little brother, why don't y'all send us some of that excess and let us see what it's like, at least for a week, to have that abundance amount that we can do some things that we need to do on this level. But
yeah,
that's
man,
neither here nor there. It's truly amazing. Well, Coach, we always appreciate you, my man, and thanks again for the expertise on the broadcast. And I got to give you some closing thoughts and comments, sir, as we get ready to wrap this one up today.
Well, Panther fans, I hope y'all go out there and show up for I know it's a pre-holiday weekend. You're trying to save up for your turkey festivities and all that. But I do know that those kids and coaches need the support of all the Panther fans, not just the Panther backers and the older alumni, but we need to get everybody that's associated with the university back up there. They may need to come up with something creative, like, any high school kids with an ID, y'all come on in for free, or $2 or $3, or, something to get the stadium packed on a Saturday with a lot on the line. I've been there before. I think my first year we had a chance to go to the championship game and end up losing by maybe 4 points to Alabama A&M at home, and didn't get in the championship game. But it means a lot to those kids and those coaches to have a whole lot of people. And I'm pretty sure, as the high school playoffs extend, it's going to be a lot of high school recruits who are now out of the playoffs that's getting a little bit more serious about, hey, let me go take a look at Prairie View, Texas Southern, whatever, because they might not have got the offers that they thought they were going to get from the Power 5 and the remainder of school. So they need to see some people in the stands no matter what. And I think it's supposed to be some pretty good weather. So I hope the Panther fans go up and show up for the team, the fans, and the university, and then they can get back in the championship game that they haven't been in a couple of years.
Yes, sir. 78 degrees with a low of 63, clear skies. So it's going to be perfect football weather.
Well, they said a Chamber of Commerce Day. You can't ask for anything better than that in November. So Panther fans, get on out there.
Yes, sir. Get on out there and not just sit there like you at a paint watching contest, but get out there and make some noise, man. Put on some Panther gear and some sweatpants if you have to, so you can get loose and have a good time at the game. Dare I say, if you need to boost your confidence up with an adult beverage or two, get in there and do what needs to be done so we can make this something. I've been calling it Homecoming 2.0. Yeah. I'm really wanting to see PV Nation show up and show out. So we on the countdown, and we'll see what the end's going to be. And for those who happen to be out of state, on the other side of the country, you can check us out live with our kickoff at 2 o'clock on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. All you have to do is visit that website, obnradio.com. Click on the Listen Live link, or if you happen to be where you don't even have internet access, guess what? You can dial a number, 857-777-0000, and listen live. We must exit stage left. He is the guru of football, Coach Heist Northern, and I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter. I did it again, on X, at the Mike Prince Show, or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.